Hey, Facebook family, how are you? We're still setting up, so stay with us as we do this. You forgot your beautiful mask.
Oh, you want to put the mask on?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
The continuation.
Yes. So we're still setting up. We're getting our technical difficulties.
Stay with us.
Yes, here we go. I tell you, this technology, boy, is beautiful when it works.
Yes.
But you got to get it to work right.
Yes.
Greg, we straight? Is it straight there?
Okay?
My family's coming on. I'm waiting for my family to come on. Can you check that, please? Make sure it's straight. Yep. Yeah, my family. I see my hearts. I see my audience coming on.
Okay, there it is. Fixed it.
Okay, good. Is that better? I'm gonna push it back. No. Okay, there's my hearts, my audience family.
Hello,
We're coming.
family.
We got our part 3 now. This is our part 3 of our mask.
This is a very lively mask, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Okay. I'm so excited. I see my friends, Greg. Do you have my friends queued up? I see some of them coming on right now. I see a whole lot of my audience coming on. I don't know how to face it, y'all. I don't know how to face it. But we're going to show you how to face it on this show. So stay with us. Yeah, we're going to talk about facing it. I see so many people on. My man Greg, he's going to queue up in a minute. But thank you so much for joining us again. My Facebook family, you guys have been so faithful. I tell you, even with all the difficulties we had last week, the technical difficulties, you were so understanding. In fact, we still probably got collectively probably 600 or 700 views just from all of you guys being supportive. And the week before we had over 1,000 views. And so that means you guys are listening, you're getting something from it. A lot of comments. I'm sorry for the people that I didn't respond back. I usually respond back to your comments, but I really, just because of all that was going on this week, I didn't get a chance, but I am still going to respond to those comments. I appreciate you being here, supporting me and my wife as we go through how masks affect our relationships, and they affect our love in such an interesting way. And so this is part 3.
Part 3.
I love it. I love it. We're going to go through. We're going to do some repeat because I want to repeat some of the information so you have it. But I really just wanted me and my wife to flow with you today, try to capture some of the things that we did not get last week, and just want to be able to check in. Greg, have we gotten the mic yet? Okay, we're still working on that. So Greg's going to get a mic in a minute. I want to acknowledge my family. As we go through, again, we've been talking about why we wear masks in our relationships. And we wear those masks because we really are not confident about how we are supposed to respond from the inside. Right. Meaning we have things that are happening inside of us that we really don't know how to express in an appropriate way. And so all we have learned all our lives is to cover, to fight, to run away, to blame. Right? To find fault with somebody else before they find fault with us. That's what we have learned to do. And so we are learning to do something different. So with Advice for Life, you're learning these techniques and skills. You're learning ways for you to be able to express your thoughts and your feelings appropriately, to do it in a way that creates love and allows you to remove the mask in your life. So as we always do, as we start, although we're going to be talking about masks in a lot of ways, I want us to remove our mask because that's what we're trying to do. We're removing our mask, so let's remove our mask, sweetie.
Oh, that feels so much better.
I tell you, when you take the mask off, you are so clear. Like, it's so easy because, again, that thing affects the way you really perceive. And although I can feel it trying to find a comfort level, look at all my hearts there on Facebook. Although I found a lot of comfort level of it, I recognized that it really was artificial.
Absolutely, it messed up my mascara.
so it's really artificial. It's not. It don't feel real to you.
No. But you know, the art of the mask is from actually the beginning. It's from Genesis. It's the beginning. That's the blame mask.
Come on.
It's that woman you gave me.
Right.
They were already covering themselves from the beginning, and then it's the blaming. It's the woman you gave me. It's a, don't look at me, look at her.
Look at her. Right. That's what we talked about. We talked about the fact that one of the tenets in family strengthening is that we will not find fault in others. So that's a very important tenet, because if you focus on not finding fault, meaning that you're not looking for fault. It doesn't mean that people don't have faults. It doesn't mean that other person doesn't have any faults. It just means you are not focused on finding fault in them. You are not becoming the investigator, the Inspector Gadget of finding fault in people's lives. Because look, if you spend too much energy trying to find fault in other people's life, you'll miss what you got to work on.
Yeah, but also nobody really wants to hear all that. People don't want to hear a person that's downing them all the time.
That's right.
That's utilizing their vulnerabilities against them all the time.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear all that.
Nope.
They're going to run away from you. You got to pull out what's great about them. That's why the scripture says focus on those things that are praiseworthy.
That's right.
Find that first. You find that, then you got people hanging out with you.
That's right.
Maybe they want to hear something you got to say.
Right. Well, that's called what I call spiritual and emotional intelligence.
Right.
Like, we don't hang out. We don't spend time. We don't allow people in our life that don't validate us. Like, we don't. Right. Most people don't pick friends that say, "You just a knucklehead. You just stupid. I don't like nothing you ever wear. What's wrong with you? You ain't good for nothing, man." People don't do that. Usually, if I always tell people, if you went out on a date, right, and if me and you had gone on our first date, and the first thing I started saying is that, you're kind of cute, but I think the eyeliner that you use is a little thick. You probably should use a thinner. And
what you trying to say? Did you want to say that?
No. I was smart enough to know that if I started our conversation with me telling you about your faults or what I don't like, rather than an intelligent person on a date, at least if they don't even know about family strengthening, they're gonna talk about the stuff they like for a person. They're not gonna begin with the stuff that they don't like. But guess what? When you get familiar with the person, you switch that. Instead of you telling them what you like, you start telling them what you don't like all the time.
Interesting.
And what you think they should do different, and what they're not doing that's right. And so we have to learn that you have to extract the precious from the worthless. You have to find the good. You cannot be finding fault, because if you try to find fault, then you'll miss the lessons that you have for yourself. And that goes back to what you said about in Genesis, that in that situation, God came to Adam and said, "Where are you, Adam?"
Right.
He said, "Where are you?" He didn't ask him any questions about Eve. He wasn't trying to find out what the weather was that day. He wasn't trying to see if he knew whether the Ravens won, which the Ravens won, by the way. I know everybody here is not Ravens fans, but we are staunch Raven fans, and they came back and won. He didn't ask him about the Ravens winning the game. He asked him, "Where are you?" Meaning, right. I want you to identify where you are. I don't want you to tell me where Eve is. But that natural thing that we have inside of us, that Adamic nature, that tendency to blame and point the finger, he couldn't help it. So when God says, "Where are you?" I want you to show up. How should you be showing up before me right now? What did you do? He said, "Let me talk about the woman that you gave me." And so at the same time, as you pointed out, in that finding fault, he blamed Eve. But unbeknown to himself, he was blaming God, because he said, "It's the woman you gave me, God."
Right. So
that's what happens when you project and you begin to put that mask of blame on. Because when you put that mask of blame on, when you're focused on what another person is doing, rather than you focusing on where you are, that's what happens. It becomes a situation where your focus is so intense, and a lot of times people use that to hide their own stuff. Because if I can keep the blame on you, if I can keep pointing out that you're the reason, you're the fault. When I counsel people sometimes, I watch the first like hour or two, they are spending time blaming each other for why the relationship is not working right. And they all have these very sound, clear reasons why the other person is to blame. And I let them, they talk and they talk and they talk and they go on. And finally I say to them, so let's talk about where you are. What are you working on?
Oh, I'm good.
I'm good. Yes,
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good.
You fix that one, we good.
That's right. You take care of that person, everything will be fine. And when you have that mentality, you miss the opportunity. The same thing when you deal with kids. If you believe your kids are the whole problem, you've missed the whole point of it. If you believe that your boss is the whole problem, or if you're a boss and you believe your employees are the whole problem, you've missed the whole point. Because guess what? When something shows up in your life, when something comes to you, it is your opportunity to learn. It is your opportunity to see yourself. God sent it to you so that you could learn something. And the moment you don't learn the lesson that everything that's happening to you is sent to you so that you can grow and so that you can change, you've missed the whole point.
Right. And you'll go right back to second grade if you don't get the lesson that God is teaching you today.
Talk about that.
You get to the realization that these days that we have are all days that we're supposed to be learning what God has given to us to learn today. So if you miss that lesson, tomorrow's coming and the same lesson will arrive. It will arrive over and over and over. He's just that patient with us. He is just that patient. But who wants to do that? Why don't we just grow up, put on our big girl panties, and get what God has for us today, and learn, grow, change.
Right. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing that we are supposed to be in a change process. So that's why we've been talking about this whole concept of mask, because the concept of mask is very, very powerful, because we all are doing it. We are all doing it to some dimension, to some degree. Look, I heard in my spirit, there are some people who are about to get married right now, and that they know in each other's heart that they haven't said and disclosed everything to that person they're going to marry. And that is more common do you think, that people believe that it's better for them to wait until they marry the person before they completely come clean to them about what's in the depth of their heart. And think about this. If you really do not believe that you can be honest and clear and as deep as possible with this person that you're committing to spend your life with, why would you believe it would be different in the battle, in the midst of the difficulties that are going to come in relationship? Like, that is foolishness for you to believe that. Let me give you that advice for life. Let me tell you something. You have to learn to take your mask off in your relationships. If you have a friendship and you're in a friendship that really you can't be open and honest in your friendship,
that's not a friendship. It's
not really a friendship. They can be an associate, because associates, you should not tell them everything. You should not go as deep with associates. But at some point, when you have a friendship, and of course timing, my wife taught me this, timing is everything.
Timing is everything. Very important.
Tell them what you taught me about that. That's important. I got to stop on that.
Well, what I share with my honey is that just because you need to say it doesn't mean this is the time that God wants you to say it. You have to wait for the ears to be open, for the person to be willing to hear you before you say it. Right. And if it's really burning in you to say it, then wow, you really need to be quiet and learn some lessons. Because that's God telling you, you need to control your tongue.
Wow.
Because nothing good is going to come from that. Love's not coming out of that, because love don't need nothing. If you need to say it, that's not love, that's not love.
It's not love.
That's not love. That is an urgency for you to have something change for your favor.
Right.
That's what you need them to do. That's not what they
I
need to hear.
I need you to do this.
That's not what they need to hear. That's what you need to say.
That's what I'm going to need right now. That's what I'm going to need. Yeah. So I think that's very important. Your timing's important, but aside from timing, you have to be able to enter into that. So we talked about last week 2 important masks, and I'm gonna put in a couple more. We talked about the mask of deception and the mask of justification, because they go hand in hand. Because a lot of things that we do, we posture to really present a picture to people. It's not really like if we always are trying to be authentic with people, that's acceptable. But a lot of times we're trying to posture. We're trying to make people believe a certain thing about us rather than being authentic about who we are. And so we really enter into degrees of deception a lot of times. And so what we have to learn how to do is to be authentic in that. We have to take off that mask. And with deception always comes this mask of justification. And so, I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk a little bit about why we argue and fight and why we cannot get along, because I believe these masks that we put on allow us to not be able to do that as well. But I want to check in real quick with my Facebook family. We got a lot of people who have come on. We got some comments that are coming in, so I always like to check in with my family. So Greg, can you talk to me about what we got going on?
Hey there, yeah, we have we have an entourage. We have a whole bunch of people. We got Angela saying hello.
Hello, Angela.
Yeah, we got Karen Peachy saying hello.
Hey, Karen.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Kowina saying hello from down in Prince George's County. We got Donald saying hello.
Oh, nice, Donald, my little brother.
Yes,
good to hear from you, brother.
Yes, Glenard.
Yes.
Saying hello.
Hey, Glenard.
Yes.
This is Glenard's first time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Welcome. Come on.
So you got Alicia Johnson saying hello.
Hey,
and,
Alicia.
Viewing. And so Kowina says, I do not judge others, and you will not be judged.
That's what the scriptures say.
That's what it says.
You do not judge, and you judge, and you will not be judged.
Right.
It's for the same measure that you judge or that you meet, as the scripture says. It means judgment. For the same judgment that you judge, it will be judged back to you again in that same way.
It says, or you will be treated as you treat others.
Right.
The standard you use in judging is a standard by which you will be judged.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Good. Nice. Good feedback.
Virginia Oliver.
Okay, that's nice. That's
First
new.
time viewer.
Hi, hey, Virginia. Good to have you in. Thank you for joining us in our Facebook Live family. It's good to have you. Come on, keep bringing your comments. Look, I tell you this, and I probably have to learn how to do this too, Gail. And if you can go over there in that corner, if you can share to my Facebook friends in that left-hand corner, you see a little, no, down at the bottom. If everybody can go down to the bottom of your screen, there should be something that you can tap, a box that allows you to share. We don't have it, Greg, for some reason. Last week we had it there, but you should have a box that you can touch that allows you to share it right now and let people know that you're with us Facebook Live. You also listen, I got a lot of shares. I got up to 30 shares this time. So I'm trying to get up to my 50 shares. So remember, I want you, if everybody who listens to this, if you would just share this video, I would greatly appreciate it. It would be a blessing to us. And it would also spread the word about what we're doing. So let me jump back a little bit. I'm gonna jump a little bit, babe. I'm gonna make a skip. I'm gonna go back to the scripture that I mentioned last week about why are we fighting and why do we have wars and conflicts with each other. And in the scriptures, it talks about the reason why we have those wars and those fightings among us is because of our own passions that rage war within inside of us. So we have passions that are happening inside of us. We have wars that are inside of us that we are trying to mask. So we are trying to, it may not be a conscious thing that we do. It's probably a learned thing that we do. It's something that we do on a consistent basis where we are always in a place where we are not fully disclosing where we really are on the inside. And we mask it through our dialogue with someone. So I really may have a feeling within inside myself that I feel disrespected. But because I don't have enough skill to say, honey, I feel disrespected when you said X, Y, and Z. Or I feel disrespected when you do X, Y, and Z. I don't have the skill to do it. And sometimes even if I knew to do that, I might be afraid to come and just say a very straightforward thing. I feel disrespected. So what we may do is that we may just reach out and be disrespectful to that person, meaning that we may retaliate. So our projection is, since you're going to disrespect me like that, I'm going to disrespect you. I don't ever tell a person that I'm going to disrespect them. I just disrespect them. meaning I project my feeling. So I'm really in a mask of deception. I'm in deception about what I am really feeling, and so I project it on the other person.
What I'm hearing when you're describing this experience is the feeling that our caller gave us, which was the experience of insignificance. So I don't bring you full disclosure of what my experience is because I feel insignificant to you. And so then that means you're not going to handle this delicate part of me properly. So it's a lack of trust that causes a person to not bring full disclosure. It's not necessarily deception, because you might keep that part of you as a secret so that you don't wound the person that you love. So it might be out of their protection. You know, we conceal these things out of protection for the public. but it still could be something like trust. And I think it doesn't necessarily have to be ill.
No. I mean, I don't think that mask that we wear for deception is necessarily for ill. I think sometimes it's for protection. It's a way to protect ourselves. I'm just saying it's not
always
right. I'm just saying it's not the most healthy way for us to protect ourselves.
Oh no, it's never healthy to.
Trust me, I'm gonna put on a disguise if I think somebody who is a terrorist or somebody coming to look for me. Personally, I'm gonna put my mask on and hope they don't see me.
Well, those people you're not inviting into your home. If you invite someone into your home, then the mask needs to come off.
That's my point.
And you need full disclosure.
That's my point. So full disclosure. So I'm just saying that sometimes we do things, and you're right. People do it because they don't trust the process that they're in. But that's a justification.
Absolutely.
That's why I said the two masks go together. You walk in a place of deception, and then you justify being in that deception. So the justification is, oh, well, we don't really communicate that well. Oh, or that person, every time I talk to them, they're always going to start an argument. Right. Oh, so instead of you learning and becoming better, and you being the person who's going to be the peacemaker, and you're going to be the person that consistently is going to share your thoughts and feelings appropriately, when that person goes off and they blow off, or when your child responds to you in a way that's inappropriate and you believe that you can fuss and holler and scream and cuss them out and tell them all manner of things just because they're a child. So you had no self-control. You had no really balance, and you didn't give them related consequences. And we're going to talk about parenting sequence. We haven't gotten to that part in family strengthening. We have a whole set of things to do when you're talking about parenting. But my point is that you can justify what you do because that person may be responding a certain way. And this is where it becomes very insidious. I always say this. We have to live up to the power of our own choice. We cannot be in a place where we're justifying our actions based on what somebody else has done. So, although another person may be totally wrong in what they're doing, you cannot then justify what you do because of what they've done. And most of the times in relationships, people are constantly within their mind and their heart justifying their ill behavior, justifying the fact that they're not growing and learning, they're not being consistent. Because they say, well, I'm always the one giving in. No, you're not. You're not the only one giving. Matter of fact, giving in for you think of it as a weakness, but giving in is not giving in. It's really learning how to dwell from within and how to respond from within. And so when you learn how to do that, when you learn how to be responsible for what you do, irrespective of what the other person does, that's why in family strengthening, we talk about the fact that you have to live up to the power of your own choice. You choose to act that way. That person didn't make you act that way. That person can't make you act a certain way. Another person can't make you think a certain way. That person, oh, well, that person is so bad for me. I act so different when I'm with them. That's who you are coming out. And that person is a vehicle to show you that part of you. And so you need to get it right, because God's sending that person to show you, guess what? That's still in you. Guess what? That's still something that you need to work on. And so since your work is showing up, you cannot put on the mask of justification to not do your work and blame it on the other person.
You find that a lot. I mean, everybody, I've never met a person that doesn't do it.
Yeah, I know I do it.
I've never met a person that doesn't
I'm learning not to do it
that,
as much.
that doesn't say,
yes.
well, you did this, so that means it's okay for me to do that.
Right.
And Holy Spirit has beaten me a lot around that because I'll be justifying and it'll be like, well, okay, well, if you go and you meet the Lord today, like you go home,
Right.
you leave here, this earthly place.
Right.
You're going to go before the Lord and be like, well, I would have not said that if they didn't do that.
Right.
That's never going to work
It's
out.
not
I don't
fly.
ever see that working out well.
No, that's
so
not
it
gonna
always
fly.
challenges me to change how I'm processing.
Sure.
Because that is the main goal for Aisha. The main goal for Aisha is obedience.
Right.
There's power in submission and not power struggling, because a lot of times we fall into this trap.
Right.
Because we're power struggling, we want to win.
We want to win.
We want to win,
At all
and
costs.
winning really is obedience. It looks different than it does for the worldly process than it does for the godly process.
Right.
For the winning on the godly process is the greatest servant.
Right.
I'm sorry, you might be right in your own heart. You might be right.
Right.
But being right does not matter more than being at peace.
Right. Right.
It
Right.
doesn't matter. It's
It
not.
doesn't matter.
I know. It seems like it matters. I know it, but it doesn't. It's not that important. It's
See
not
those-
that big.
All the hearts and thumbs up.
It seems like it's that big, but like I told y'all before, if it doesn't matter when you're 90, it really doesn't.
It really don't matter. That's what she taught me. It really don't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And you know, the funny thing is, you know, we a lot of times spend so much energy on trying to be right
Oh my goodness.
rather than to trying to be righteous. See, it's more important to be righteous, meaning is it more important, as you just pointed out, sweetie, it's more important for you to focus on doing the right things from inside your heart and not being right.
Right.
And we spend so much energy, and again, that's part of that process. And I'm talking about not living up to the power of your own choice, your own discrimination. You are constantly trying to project and point out that somebody else is wrong or somebody else has missed it, because every time you do that, you have learned and you have trained yourself to believe that when you prove somebody else is wrong, that makes you right. So you're so focused on, and it's a habit. You're always finding fault. You're always finding reasons for why something or someone is not right or not or is wrong, because that makes you feel justified. It puts you in a higher place because you found something that has a discrepancy over there. But all along, as the scriptures say, is that take the mote out of your own eye. Take the fault out of your own life, out of your own mindset.
Right.
If you take the time to look at yourself, you don't have a whole lot of time to be pointing the finger at somebody else, because you have a lot of work within yourself to work on. And so if you have that kind of standard, that kind of stance, you're right. You won't spend your energy trying to be right all the time. And that is one of the major reasons why, because that's the passion. People coming together, they're having conflict, wondering why they always are arguing, why they can never have peace. It's because they have this passion inside of them to be right. They have this passion inside of them to project and hide what they're really feeling, because they feel vulnerable and they don't want to say, I'm scared. You scare me. You know, I feel scared when you do X, Y, and Z, or I'm uncomfortable when we do this or whatever. We don't want to do that. We don't want to risk that part. But guess what? You're going to find that energy to figure out that you're right about something. That's
easy.
That's easy. It's easy for you to keep pointing the finger. And so I think that's an important concept for you to get. I'm giving you that for advice for life, that you have to live up to the power of your own choice. You choose. When God came to Adam and he asked him, Adam, where are you? What he should have said is, God, I chose to respond and listen to my wife when she came to me, because that apple looked good. And I really wanted to eat some of that fruit. It wasn't an apple, but I wanted a piece of that fruit. That fruit is a metaphor. I wanted to partake of what she was bringing to me, because it felt so attractive. It felt so right in the moment. And sometimes we're absolutely wrong, but it feels absolutely right for us in that moment.
Absolutely.
And so he got to a place where he was so drawn by that. So what he should have done is lived up to the power of his choice. His choice was, I'm choosing to listen and flow with my wife in this moment. And all God was asking him is to show up and say, okay, where are you? Yeah, God, I know you told me to do this, but I was flowing with my wife just now. That was me. I was flowing with her because you told me what to do. You didn't tell her what to do. You told me. But what we do inside is that instead of us living up to the power of our own choice, we will then project it and find a place and a person to blame.
That goes right back to what I was sharing about the fact that it's you solely.
Right.
It's the relationship that you have with the Lord yourself that you have to cultivate in order to identify that you can't blame it on someone else what you're doing, because Adam had relationship first.
Right.
So that relationship should have still been the person. He should have still been the one to say, okay, should I be eating that fruit because you told me
right.
not to.
Right.
And then choosing the fruit of the flesh is what happens now.
Right. Right.
We do that now, and then we blame it on someone else.
Right. Right.
Well, they taught me how to do that. Well, they said we know what's right and what's wrong. It's in our spirit and in our hearts as well.
Right.
So we choose the opposite.
Right.
Because I loved him, or I loved her, or
right. Right.
he angered me, or she angered me. If she would stop doing that, then I wouldn't do this. Instead of identifying that, well, you know what? Well, that might be their choice, but that's not my choice.
Right.
So I'm going to remain in peace. Because we're the ones that have to bring the peace to the relationship.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And owning up to the power of our choice, again, helps us with the mask. Because, you know, if a woman has been hurt in her relationships, right, and she actually acts out and models out in the next relationship exactly what she experienced in the other relationship, it's almost like it's like deja vu. There could be a trigger, and the person that she's in relationship with may or may not be responding the same as the other person. But there might be other things that happen that trigger that. So actually, if they come into the relationship and they come in already responding like they experienced in their previous relationship. I mean, what I really loved about, you know, when me and you got together and you had been, you know, married previously, when you came into our relationship, you came with a very fresh look. Like I never really sensed that you were responding to me in the memory of of what you had. It's almost like somebody going to Vietnam and they have that you know, PTSD when they hear a little balloon crack at the fair or something.
Right.
Crack, and then they down they grabbing guns, grabbing people around the neck.
It's real.
That's what happens. We get this trauma that happens, and again, to take off the mask of deception. Again, it's not necessarily it doesn't have to be a purposeful deception. It means that you're deceiving yourself about the fact that you still have these things going on inside of you. And then when you do respond that way to the other person and they point it out, now you start a fight because you know, that's what you were used to doing before. You would fight, even though you know in your heart that person may have a good point.
Or you get commitment issues. You don't really want to really commit because you're terrified.
Right.
They're going to be the same.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, you know, that mask of deception can get really, really deep and insidious, because you have sometimes guys in relationships who literally when they go into the relationship, their mentality really is not to fulfill what they say they're going to fulfill. They're just trying to, it's a means to an end to them. So they're trying to achieve and get something. And so they become accustomed and comfortable with deception. They get comfortable with lying about their lifestyle, lying about whether, you know, they're going to really be committed or not. So it becomes like, you know, they call it the line. Like I'm gonna give my rap, I'm gonna give my line. So they can become comfortable with presenting false information, sometimes having double lives. Some of them are still married. Some of them have other girlfriends, and they become comfortable with it. In fact, if I'm their boy, like if I'm their boy and I'm talking to them and I'm saying to them, look, now, I mean, again, if he's a believer, I'm gonna really get on him because I'm gonna bring the word to him. But I'm just saying somebody that I just know, in society, and he starts telling me this situation, like I'm saying to him, why do you feel like you have to be deceptive?
Right.
And you have people going into situations, male and female, going into situations where they show up and the person is really not at all what that person has presented, because they've had this mask of deception and they've become comfortable with that mask of deception. But watch this. If you did the same thing to that person, if you deceived that person in the way that they deceived you, they would be enraged. They would be outraged. They would believe that you were the worst person. They wouldn't go, oh, okay, good game, okay. You like me. All right, okay, you got me on my own game, okay. They're not going to do that. They're going to be just as hurt and just as, befuddled by your actions that you did to them that they would easily do to you. So I'm checking this. And the reason why somebody can walk in deception and a mask of deception is because they found a way to justify their actions. They have said within themselves, there's something inside of them that's caused them to believe. Now, it might be, let's say, I'm just going to use the guy because I'm a guy. The guy says, okay, when I was in my last relationship and I really gave it my all, she did me wrong. So I'm not even going to really try like that. I'm just going to go a certain amount, but I'm not going to give it all that I have. So he is justified responding to a totally different person who did no harm to him, did no wrong to him. He is justified being deceptive and deceiving that person because he has justified it from his experience from the past.
Well, his justification has nothing to do with that other person, the new person.
Right.
It has nothing to do with that person. It has something to do with him not getting past the person that injured him. So it has nothing to do with the new person. He's already decided he's going to do that before he's met however many people he's going to.
Right.
However many people he's meeting.
Right.
He's already decided he's going to be a gamer.
Right.
It's all going to be a game. And it's phrased as a game because a game is outside here.
Right.
You have padding on for a game. You put the helmet on for a game so it doesn't really touch you.
Right.
So when you're gaming,
right,
you're not really being touched.
Right.
You're not really being infiltrated.
Right.
So a gamer is going to play the game.
Right.
And a lot of people that aren't out to play a game, that get caught up in that person's game,
right,
get hurt.
And
I think the deceptive part is the person that's gaming knows they're gaming.
Right.
The deceptive part is they're not telling anyone else that they've entered a game.
Right. Or that they're playing a game.
That they're playing a game.
Right.
It's kind of like that movie where Jim Carrey was in, and it was like he didn't know that it was all a stadium that he lived in. It wasn't really a town.
Right.
These were all actors. Right. He didn't know it. Everybody else knew it was a game.
They knew it was a game.
He didn't know it was a game.
Right.
So these people are giving their all, they're giving their heart, and then they're being played.
Right. I just heard something that was really important. You have some people who have been married a long time, and they probably have a decent relationship. But what has happened is that they have become comfortable not going deep with each other. Not really sharing their thoughts and feelings in an authentic way. And so the mask that they wear with each other is so inbred. It's almost like they don't want to rock the boat. And what happens a lot of times is that when they don't spend the energy to break through those barriers, what happens is that they have some major thing that happens between them in their life. And you'll find out people who have been married 30, 40 years, just they're not together no more. And everybody's going, how in the world are they not together anymore? Like they're like peanut butter and jelly. Like no, because they never really got to a place that they were willing to really address the fact that they had these masks on and that there were certain behaviors that was just eating away at each other. Like he did some things that ate away at her. She did some things that ate away at him, and they never really addressed them in their full place.
In order to do, a lot of times people utilize distractions.
Right.
in
Right.
order to accomplish the task that you just shared.
Right.
So children are the number one distraction.
Yes.
So people will get busy with the kids.
Right.
Oh, the kids are doing this. I'm up all night with the kids. Just leave me alone.
Right.
And then when they become empty nesters and they're sitting there staring at each other,
Ooh.
then all this stuff comes out.
All this stuff
comes up and papers start getting signed
Right.
for people when it should have been
Right.
that they were talking about these things all along.
Right. And you have to be in a process where you're willing to forgive.
Absolutely.
You have to be in a place of forgiveness. We want people to forgive us, so we have to forgive them. That's kind of that first prayer we learn. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us.
Yes.
So that we don't be led into temptation. And please, God, deliver us from evil. So we're learning about relationships so we can be delivered from the evil that resides in our environments, to be able to look at our own process. And I'm going to remind you of this. And I know we have to wrap up soon. We're going to go back to our Facebook audience and get you some of your comments. But remember, again, we're talking about process. Today, we talked about the fact that you have to live up to the power of your own choice. So you've learned that. I want you to remember that. Remember not finding fault with others, that you have to extract preciousness from something that even seems worthless to you. Practice that. I want you right now, all of you who are listening, and when you listen to this video and you're listening to us Facebook Live, I need you to go home for the rest of this week. And what I want you to do is, all I want you to do is spend the week and focus on thinking about good, finding good, even something that's crazy. Let's say somebody cuts you off on the road. I want you to find something good about that situation. Let's say somebody says something smart to you. I want you to find something good. Let's say somebody accuses you of some wrong that you didn't do. I want you to try to find the good in it. And I want you to mentally prepare yourself. Practice this. And notice when you are straying off. I asked somebody to do this once before when I was doing a teaching one time, Aisha. And the lady told me that she went home and she started trying to find the good. And she was talking to her grandmother or her mother. She was talking to her mother, and her mother had this issue. They had this riff. And she recognized that all the time that she was talking to her mother on the phone, she was always thinking about all the things that her mother did that was not right, and what she did that was wrong, and how she wronged her, and how she could have been a better mother, and how she should have did this, and how when I told her to do that, it was hard for her because she was talking to her mother and she could hear herself trying to say those things. But I kept telling her, find the good. What did she do that was right? What did she do that was uplifting? What did she do to make you the person that you are?
Right.
And so she was focused on finding the good and extracting. And when I say extract, I mean pull it out of something that's worthless. And then God will open up your eyes so that you can see. So you've learned that today. If you do nothing else this week, focus and practice finding the good. And when you come back next week, I want you, or as we're going along, comment, hit me on Facebook, on the comment section on this video, and tell me what you learned in that process. We're talking about how to deal with conflict and arguments, and how we have to own our own process and recognize that we have to be the custodians of our own choice, and that we cannot use somebody else to blame and project when we're in those confrontations and doing that. And so I had some more, but we're going to have to move. We're at the end of our time. I see all my likes. I see all my hearts. You guys are so faithful. So we're going to check in before we go. I want Greg to come back and give me some of my feedback from my Facebook audience. Love you guys doing this live thing. This is so powerful, wonderful. I want to say this too. Some of you don't even realize that there are people who are not only waiting for this to happen every week, but they love hearing your comments, and they are blessed by just as much by what you say as what we are saying here, because we're a family. This is our Facebook Live community family. We're gonna have love here on Tuesday nights. We're gonna spread it. We're gonna bring in as many people as possible. I actually got a correspondence from a pastor in South Africa.
Wow.
Which was really powerful, that he was tuning in and being with us and being transformed by what we were going through. There's couples that have let me know that it's affected how they respond to one another. Now, this is what I've told some people that have talked to me. If you are a couple, I recommend as you listen to this, make sure that when you're listening to both this program and when you're listening to our podcast or our radio program is Sundays, 9 a.m., iHeartRadio. Just download the iHeartRadio app, choose Gospel and then Heaven 600. Or you can just click on one of our links on our Facebook page. That will take you to it. And you can go to our podcast, which we upload all of our shows. And I told this person, and I tell everybody who comes to me, when you want to come and be blessed and grow together, you both have to sit down and listen to the program. But you have one rule. And that rule is you cannot listen to it and think about what the other person should learn from it.
Right. That's important.
That's important. You can't say, "Oh, did you get that? Did you hear that?" Yeah, you do that. No, you can't do that. The thing that you have to do is when you listen to it, I want you to say, "What did I get from it?" And your commitment to each other is to say, "Honey, I'm going to think about what I learned and what I got and what I'm going to change and what I'm going to do that's different than I've ever done before." And if you do that, if both of you do that same thing, it will transform you.
Absolutely. I believe that if a person makes a mistake and does do that, you say stuff like, you're really trying to get something for yourself. I appreciate that. I'm trying to get something for you too.
Yeah, I'm trying to get something for you. I want to get something for you too. Yeah. But the important thing is that you should be trying to get something for yourself.
Exactly.
Because again, we're talking about that transformative process happening from the inside of you out.
Absolutely.
Right? That's what we want to start with ourselves. As much as it depends on you, be at peace with all men. So, Greg, help me out with my Facebook family. Remember, I need you guys to share. Don't forget to share.
We have first viewer, Gina.
Gina, nice.
Gina, the
Welcome,
first-time viewer. At least I think so, Gina. One of my biker buddies. And let's see. We have D says, stop justifying your behaviors based on what others don't do. Good word. Just as
okay.
Good word.
Stop justifying your behaviors based on others.
Right.
Yeah.
And Karen says, wow, yes, we all have a hard time looking in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes the mask in the mirror, they don't look good. They don't look good. But we're all trying to work on ourselves. So that's why we're here. We're all here to work on ourselves.
Absolutely.
So so we got a lot of good feedback, a lot of people checking in. Remember, join us again every Tuesday evening at 8:30. We are here to serve you, to talk more about relationship. We're talking about the mask, and this is a reflective process where we call it a mirror. And a mirror, in this case, a mirror is a metaphor. It's a word picture that helps you see an aspect of yourself in the relationship process. So that's what we're doing right now. We're using the metaphor of mask to help us see aspects of ourselves in relationship. And we're going to do more with this. This has been exciting. You guys have been very responsive. And we just love being here. Honey, I don't know if you want to close with anything. You have anything you want to give?
I think everything you shared was very amazing, my love. I think deception can be very, very destructive. And it's important that we talk about it.
Right. And especially the justification that comes in that process. And,
absolutely. The justification is destructive to both parties.
Yes.
The deception is destructive to the one being deceived.
Yeah. And so we're learning how to translate those things in a way that we can look at our own process. Again, we're looking at our thoughts, our feelings, our intentions, our behaviors, and linking our behaviors back to those thoughts, feelings, and intentions. And that's part of what we're talking about here on Advice for Life. I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to join us Sunday morning on iHeartRadio at 9 a.m. Sunday morning. And also, you can go to our podcast and upload all of our past programs. They will bless you. Listen to them together. Listen to them with your kids. Listen to them with your family. And finally, join us again here next week, Tuesday at 8:30, Facebook Live. We love you, and you got to get your mask, babe.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to use a different one this time. I'm going to use the Chinese mask.
Well, I don't have another one, so I'm just going to use the same.
We love you. Love you. Love you. See you later.
Bye.
God bless.